Alright, part 3 of the Frostfall introduction. This time we're going to look at what has happened, a summary of the story. So basically, I'm going to go through, first of all, what has chronologically happened in a very high-level way. A half a year of playtime can be shrinked, but not 100% accurately described in only 10 minutes. And then we're going through all of the quests that the characters currently are trying to achieve. Now, to set the scene, when the characters arrived, they were arriving in the very south of Nim. They were escorted to a place which is called Frostfall. Frostfall being a large city, the only encampment that we're currently having, has shown to be a place that is in grave danger. So the characters found out that apparently corpses are being stolen out of Frostfall for an unclear reason. They investigated the topic further and they found out that the corpses apparently are not randomly disappearing, but that there is a prophecy, maybe a story of old days, that an undead army will rise and will run over the living. This here is the city of Frostfall, to give you an idea of what they did. They were venturing through most of the city parts and eventually moved into the Frostfall keep itself, where they found, or the Frostfall castle, where they found to be tasked by the current leader of Frostfall, a man named Glench, whom you can see here. He tasks them to please investigate the matter. This here is Glench, so we use him kind of as a narrator. So Glench asked them to please investigate, and the characters were moving outside of the city, were investigating and finding out that indeed the corpses are brought to an old crypt. The old crypt was called the Hidden Crypt. The Hidden Crypt, or Moonlight Crypt as they call it, was a place where apparently the undeads were collecting the corpses, the remains of those who have perished, in order to resurrect them step by step by step. Of course, the characters couldn't allow that, so they were indeed investigating the means. So back to the island of Frostfall. The characters were moving from Frostfall to a library where they found out what was happening. They found out about an old prophecy that an army of undead led by vampires would eventually overrun Frostfall. They found out that there had been a town called Frostfall in the earlier days, and they found out that Frostfall indeed was overrun and only a very, very few amount of people survived. The former leader of Frostfall, a hero called Mara, was defending the city and could fence off the undeads once more, so that even a couple of the old people could survive. The heroes ventured on to the Hidden Crypt that I was talking about, a place where they found indeed their first vampire spawn, and a device to reanimate many of the undeads. They destroyed all of that, buying themselves a little bit more time. And this brings me to one of the features of this campaign. Down here, you will see a timer. Currently, the party is on day 36 of their adventure. When the timer is running out, the city of Frostfall will be overrun by undead. Now, from the Hidden Crypt, the party afterwards was realizing, oh, we need more help. So they gathered whatever advices they could get and received a couple of quests that I'm going to run through in a second. And they decided to ask the only orc tribe that is left over for help. An orc tribe that is being led by a being called Thrush. Thrush is a half dragon, and a very important one indeed, because he's the son of Guvenvar, the tortured dragon of the whole previous story. Now, they bartered with the orcs and found out that the orcs did have a couple of problems, but they also agreed that under circumstances like tit for toe, one faction helps another. If they would help the orcs would also join them in the battle for Frostfall. Moving on towards the west, they passed the mountains and went to the Dwarven Ruins, a mysterious place which includes an old Dwarven city, the city of the clan Hammerfall. The Dwarven Ruins were empty, but yet a couple of the constructs of the dwarves remained. The players found out that the dwarves were having an intense relationship with a race called Forum Orion, which is kind of an ant-like race, so ant-men, and that during the time of the Great Conflict, apparently the leader of this ant clan was even visiting the clan Hammerfall. The leader of the Ant-Man, the queen of the ants, called Ka, was dying during the event, and her spirit ever since rested in the Dwarven Ruins. The players did find a couple of hints towards the background story there, and they also agreed to help Ka, the ghost of the Forum Orion, to return to her tribe. As such, Pytek, one of the players, took it upon him to host the body of the queen, permanently changing and altering himself because his body couldn't carry the power of the queen. The group moved on and went to the Forum Orion. This is, by the way, how they look like. They found them, agreed, negotiated a peace, and with helping the leader Ka, they agreed that the Forum Orion will help them in the defense of Frostfall. Now, after they did that, they were still looking for more help, and they turned their eye to the north, a place which is called the Mines of Myrsa. The Mines of Myrsa happened to be an old mine that is nowadays repurposed as a laboratory for a couple of mages. One of them being called Myrsa. They not only met Myrsa and saved him, but they also helped with a problem in the mines. Apparently, evil robots, race called horrors, were invading the mines. The horrors are a robotic race that is decomposing every metal object that they can find and build even more horrors out of it. So it's kind of an alien species that is trying to overrun whole planets. Now, apparently, there was a little invasion, or the start of an invasion there, and the characters were successfully driving back the horrors and defeat them. With that, they received the gratitude of Myrsa and his companion, and agreed with him that he should now tinker war machines to help them in the conflict that is going to be upcoming. Now, they then turned their head towards south because Uriel, the druid of the group, spotted a little bit of an oddity in this area, and they found two places that they are currently still investigating. Number one is a place called the Bitter Water Caves. Apparently an old mining system that is nowadays infested by large trolls that have been kind of twisted and shaped due to this very unnatural place. It was there where the party was trying desperately to fence off the trolls. They invaded their lair, but very soon they needed to understand that the trolls were too numerous, too strong, and the party needed to retreat. So they currently have that quest still open, and Uriel specifically wants to not only destroy the trolls, but he wants to destroy the source of this planar oddity and restore planar order, because this whole area here seems to be under a planar, discomforting effect. Somehow this area here is tied closer to the plane of Ravenloft, a plane where undeads reign and where living beings are being enslaved. So that's what the party is currently trying to do. They are trying to move into the Bitterwater Caves. One of the features of the Bitterwater Caves is also that the trolls have accumulated quite a sizable amount of corpses, which could be reanimated. And it will be only a matter of time until the undeads go there and reanimate the corpses. So burning them and destroying them permanently would further slow down the advance of the undead army. They now moved, in the meantime, to the old city of Frostfall, which will lead me to the, which I will elaborate in the next video. Apparently there had been a former Frostfall that they are currently investigating. Now, the old Frostfall is nothing more than a couple of ruins, and they discovered, they went to the center of the ruins and they discovered that the undead army is indeed planning to overrun Frostfall very, very soon. They defeated one of the lieutenants of the undead army and struck a blow towards the undead army itself. And they found, and that was kind of the whole cliffhanger of the last sessions, they found the original resting place where the former leader of the former Frostfall, Mara, had been buried. They found out that the sarcophags that Mara and his bodyguards were buried in have been opened, and it seems as the sarcophags had been opened from the inside. Evidence suspects that Mara and his bodyguards have joined the ranks of the undead, and maybe they are even plotting and to overrun Frostfall themselves. Now, we have covered a couple of the quests already. The party is currently here. Let me give you a brief overview about what they are trying to do. Their main quest is the battle for Frostfall. When they run out of time, they will indeed be attacked by an undead army of disproportionately larger size than they could even imagine in their wildest dreams. They are very afraid of that because they want to save the city of Frostfall, and they also realize if there is no more Frostfall, they will be the next target of the undead. It seems as if the undead are attacking Frostfall in regular rhythms, or every 10 years. It became clearer that this year is definitely going to be one of the attacks, and the party is still trying to figure out why it is only so seldom and why the attacks so far haven't completely wiped out everyone. They need to buy time, and that's where they are trying to desperately gather forces. They have the Orcs almost on their side. They have the Forum Orion on their side. They have a couple of goblins that they convinced to join, and they have the local militia of Frostfall. Now, all of that certainly is not enough to win the battle. So they do have a couple of hints, a couple of quests almost that they want to fulfill. But their main problem is they are running out of time. Now, we talked about the first quest already, the Bitterwater Caves, where they could slow down the army of the undead. The less number of corpses available for the army of the undead, the better for the heroes, because it will just take more preparation time to get corpses in the meantime. So that's the doom timer that is running down there. Secondly, they still could visit the infamous Castle Nevermore. The place where Prince Moritz, the evil ruler, once built up his army, is still a place that could yield treasure and knowledge about what is even driving the darkness. If they would venture there, they could discover potential magical artifacts, maybe even holy weapons that could guide them in the battle for Frostfall. The party lengthily discussed, and it's still a possibility that they could venture to this very, very dark place. The castle Nevermore lies in the very western section here, and well, it is rumored that the castle itself is a haunted place. More to that in the next video, because it plays indeed a little bit of a story arc role. There's a second option for them, which is called the Cloudwalker Temple. On the western side of Nym, there is the largest mountain, the Cloudwalker, the Cloud Peak. And the Cloudwalker Peak is so massive that it is always reaching into the sky itself. Clouds are covering it throughout every single day. The party has found out, due to various writings, that indeed the peak of the mountain itself seems to be an interconnection between two planes. The plane, one of the planes of heaven, where celestial beings live, and the Forgotten Realms. Now, needless to say, the so-called Cloudwalker Temple, a monasterical temple, is said to be defended or guarded by ancient angel guardians that are trying to fence off everything that would elsewise enter the realm of the good. The party thinks about negotiating with the angels and maybe getting help for their fight in Frostfall. There's another option, which is called the Crystalline Hort. I talked about that earlier. There is indeed the large dragon Guvenvar. And for those of you who were following the previous videos, Guvenvar has been twisted, almost like tainted, but she's still a very powerful being, and her wisdom and her hoarded items might provide a useful benefit to continue the defense. If the party by any means could negotiate with that dragon, or even get loot from it, they might be stronger, more sturdy, and could withstand the ambush better. The party also, when investigating the Dwarven Ruins, has found out that there is indeed a teleportation system, a very clever system of rune magic, where large stones are being tied together. So there is a place in Nym, right here at the Dwarven Stones, which seems to be an ancient teleportation system, linking 4 teleportation pylons: the southern circle, the central circle, the northern circle, and the eastern circle, together with one another. Now, since they are so starved on time, they are looking at the moment to go there and open the teleportation system to venture through Frostfall in a faster fashion. The next option that they do have is the Frost Giant's Lair. The Frost Giant's Lair is the rumored place where Harthog, the Dark King of the Giants tribe, is still residing. It is known that not many giants have survived, but it is also known that Harthog might still be alive. They are masters in fighting the undead, and they are also masters in the cold iron craft. They do have weapons that surpass many of the immunities that other creatures could have. And the party was very interested in paying them a visit and maybe talking to that being called Harthog. The party also has heard about the sunken galore, very much to the south. The last ship, the last galore that existed on Frostfall, was indeed trying to escape. Those who dared to follow the captain to penetrate the impenetrable fog ended up in sinking down there. They have found a cruel end. Many of them drowned, and it is said that the galore is still at this very day lying there. Now the captain has taken a lot of the magical items with him, so there might be treasures to be found down there, and there might also be a great spot for the party to destroy undead dead remains and further slow down the advance of the undead army. Now, last but not least, two quests which are going to happen in the Underdark. The party currently knows about a northeastern and a western entrance to the Underdark. The Underdark is a system of caves, tunnels, that are running throughout the whole world of the Forgotten Realms. And in this specific case, they know that the Underdark had been populated. Many of the former tribes were fleeing to the Underdark when the conflict in Nym arose. So, as it stands, there are two options for them to venture into the Underdark. The Orcs have asked them to fight off an Illithid prince, because apparently a mind flayer has attacked the Orcs and has driven them off their former hiding place. That mind flayer, the Illithid prince, is known to be a dimensional traveler. He is visiting other dimensions, other planes of existence, and he's a collector. And maybe he has collected a couple of interesting things. Now, if the party wants the help of the Orcs, they need to defeat the Mind Flayer and offer the Orcs an option to return to their former home after the fight for Frostfall. And last but not least, they were meeting Salutis, who was forced by a couple of drow to attack the party. Well, the drow do not have any problem with the party, but the drow apparently are currently invading a place which is called the Temple of Fire and Ice, an underground temple where it is said that a great source of power is being buried. The party has found out that the drow might be not only power hungry, but discovering that area. And the party has also found out that the temple itself might have potential allies. They have found out that the temple is led by a fallen angel called Antaria, a former good being that somehow lost her way and is now trying to make a living in the Underdark. If she's still alive and what has happened to her is all unclear, but the party knows that allies could be found there. So that's the setup. That's what they know. They are currently on day 36 out of 44. And the next video will cover one last element of the story before we are going to go into the game sessions themselves. It will cover the story of former Frostfall and what has happened in the past, to give you a little bit of an inspiration of how the journey of the last party has been unsuccessful. So, see you in the last video, and then the prologue for Frostfall will be completed.